Welcome to another episode of Gull-Mouth Action podcast, where we take a look at all the latest goings on at Brighton and Hove Albion, Crawley Town, and all of the sport across Sussex. I'm Derren Howard, and this week I'm joined by Sussex reporters Sam Morton and Henry Bryant, who cover all things Brighton and Hove Albion as well as Crawley Town. The Seagulls are enjoying a 20-day break from action. Their extended break has included a week of warm weather training in Dubai, and they are next in action at home against Wolverhampton Wanderers on Monday, January the 22nd at the Amex Stadium. Behind the scenes, Albion are edging closer to making their first signing of the transfer window. And meanwhile, Crawley Town, they suffered a disappointing 1-0 home defeat against Salford City. Off the pitch, 21-year-old midfielder Kame Sawyer has also been recalled by West Ham. You can read all of the stories we are talking about with videos and pictures online at sussexworld.co.uk/sport. And you can check out other great videos on shotstv.com and Freeview channel 276. You may also be watching on Latest TV, so thank you very much for tuning in. As mentioned, Albion are enjoying an extended break, and just how beneficial will that be, Sam, do you think, to the team?
Yeah, massively beneficial, Derren. Really, I think obviously the one thing that's been a problem for Brighton this season is trying to get to grips with the number of games they've had to play. They've obviously made a number of changes, and I think we've seen different players come in quite frequently. I suppose that's made it quite difficult to get the playing style as fluid and as brilliant as it was last season, really. And I think they've done exceptionally well in the circumstances and have had to deal with lots of injuries, especially this season. So having this extended break to recharge the batteries, get some players back from injury, I hope that we do see some of those players that have been out for a long time basically, hopefully they are nearer to playing again. So this definitely gives those players a chance to get back into action, and the players that have been playing week in, week out to have a rest, which is so important as we go into the second half of the season.
Yeah, it's going to be a big second half. And next up is a home match against Wolves on Monday the 22nd. What do you think about that one, Henry? What kind of game are you expecting?
Well, Brighton have got a really good record against Wolves and will be looking to make this their fifth consecutive win against Wolverhampton Wanderers. And when Brighton last played Wolves in August, it was a 4-1 win away, with Estupiñán, who's in form right now, getting a goal as well in that fixture. And it looks like it will be another one where we'll see a lot of goals. And it'll be interesting to see if having this warm weather training will benefit the players who are now going to be going into the cold February UK winter and January that's coming up. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Do you agree with that, Sam? Do you think it could be a bit, the warm weather of Dubai straight into a cold match against Wolves? Do you think that could have any impact?
It potentially could. I mean, obviously, I was just saying about how much of a positive impact having a rest could have. Then you also wonder maybe if it does have maybe an adverse effect, as you say, the warm weather, suddenly you're back to the freezing cold, and you never know, it could have an impact. But I think it's going to be a tough game either way. I think Wolves are obviously in decent form, and I think Gary O'Neill has had a superb impact with them, really, and they are flying quite high, really. I think they're 11th place at the moment, just a 1 point behind Newcastle with a game in hand, and they're not too far below Chelsea either, and they're actually only 3 points below Brighton, so they're not too far down, and I think it will be a tough game, and hopefully, as Henry says, that Brighton can continue that great record they do have against Wolves, but I don't think it will be as comfortable as some of those games were, especially last season. There was obviously a heavy win for Brighton, so I definitely think it will be a tough game, but one that hopefully Brighton can get through.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it will be tougher. Gary O'Neill's a good manager. I think he's done a good job there. But Brighton are expected to complete and announce an $8 million deal for Valentin Barco this week. The Seagulls activated the release clause with Boca Juniors, and a 19-year-old will certainly add to head coach Roberto De options on the left flank. How exciting do you think this is for Brighton, Henry? Do you think he should be kept at the club or loaned out?
Well, personally, if you look at the wingers that we've got at the moment, on the left, you've got Ansu Fati, you've got Simon Adingra, you've got Karim Matoma. All have been a little bit injury prone this season. Some of them going to be out for quite a while. So it might be worth De Zerbi potentially taking a chance on this new signing that we'll be having very soon, shortly to be announced. And he might just provide another level of creativity that we've been needing. I think that previous season we had Kaoru Matoma was just that magician, and he really burst into the scene. We haven't seen as much of that this season. Not to say that he's not anywhere near as talented as he has been for us, but it looks like having a player like this, Valentin Barco, coming in might be some opportunity to kind of create a bit more competition in an already quite crowded left midfield, left wing role that we already have. And maybe give him a chance in this second half of the season and then go from there in the summer, I would say.
Yeah. No, it looks a good sort of a classic Brighton signing. Do you agree, Sam? Or what do you think of Barco?
Yeah, I think it's a
speculation doing the rounds.
Yeah, I think it's a really exciting signing for Brighton, actually, and it's obviously one that has been talked about for quite a while. Some big clubs linked with him, as you say, and obviously, as you mentioned, there's been talk of him potentially being loaned out, and it's a little bit up in the air whether he's going to be kept on at the club this season or trying to loan him out and give him some match experience to then come into Brighton for the new season. But I would quite like to see him start, and not necessarily start, but I'd like to see him stay at Brighton and really start to cut his teeth in the Premier League, really get that invaluable experience. And I think there will definitely be opportunities for him, really. I think when we've seen the number of injuries Brighton have had, especially in those fullback positions, and the fact that he can play in midfield as well will only help his cause. And I really do hope that he's given a chance to show what he can do this season. And I think I mentioned last week that he's been likened to Marcelo, and he's obviously one of the best left backs in football history. So if he's anything like him, then Brighton are doing okay. So yeah, I really hope that he can make a good impact for Brighton and really, as I say, show what he can do.
Good stuff. Yeah.
And in terms of, sorry, Dave, you asked about other transfer speculation. As well. Yeah, I think there's a couple of names I think that've been doing the rounds. Nothing concrete as such, but Lazar Samardzic from Udinese, managed by former Crawley Town manager Gabriele Cioffi. There's a report coming out of Italy via Sport Witness that Brighton have joined the race alongside Juventus and Napoli to sign the midfielder. He's a 21-year-old, valued in the region of 25 million euros, and he's played over 80 times for the Serie A outfit after joining from the Bundesliga in 2021. So potentially an exciting signing, and the fact that he's been linked with two huge clubs in the Serie A can only bode well. I think Brighton really mixing with the heavyweights of Europe there. And also Facundo Medina from Lens in the French league. Apparently Brighton showing interest in him as well. He's an Argentinian centre-back, and apparently Man United are also interested for the 24-year-old. So a couple of, I suppose, unorthodox players there that we might not necessarily know too much about, but potentially could be two shrewd signings for Brighton, and they're notorious for that, really, aren't they? In signing these players that are maybe not well known across the world just yet, but they soon will be if they start applying the trade in the Premier League.
Yeah, for sure. They've certainly got more right than they have wrong in the last few windows. So plenty of the window left to go. We're still only just halfway through, so we'll keep watching that one. But just on a slightly sour note, former Brighton manager and current Ghana head coach Chris Hughton was reportedly attacked by a Ghanaian fan at the team's hotel after their defeat against Cape Verde in the AFCON. The unidentified man was handed to the Ivorian police and arrested. Apparently, what's the latest there, Henry? What's been going on over there?
Well, there's been some recent developments, and a spokesperson for Ghana FA has kind of come out and issued a few statements. Basically, what we can now confirm is that they've had a meeting with the coach after, giving him 100% assurance that they are behind him. And they've insisted that there was a fan that actually was just trying to get closer to the coach at his hotel, and then security had intervened on duty. They say that there was no arrest, but the security team did take them away from the scene. So it looks like he wasn't actually physically attacked. It was more of a verbal attack, but at the same time, this is still not a nice thing to see. I mean, there's still 3 games left for them to have an opportunity to progress. And it's just a shame, really, because he's, as a Brighton fan, and knowing how he manages teams, he's genuinely a very nice, quite quiet manager, some would say, and for him to be involved in something like that is a real shame. But it does look like there was no physical attack, according to the Ghana FA, and more updates I'm sure will follow after that.
Yeah, no, it wasn't nasty, and like you say, you couldn't meet a nicer guy, could you? So hopefully it wasn't too bad, and he can turn it around. But we're just going to go for a short break now, and when we come back, we'll be talking all things Crawley Town. Crawley's playoff hopes suffered a bit of a blow with a 1-0 loss against struggling Salford City last time out. It wasn't really a good performance from Scott Lindsay's men, was it, Sam?
No, it wasn't at all, and it was a bit of a surprise. I think Crawley went into the game as favourites. They were, as you mentioned, not too far off the playoffs, and they've had a great run of form with a couple of brilliant away victories, and they definitely were expected to put Salford to the sword, as they were in a really poor run of form without a win in a long period of time, and they were really struggling, Salford. But you wouldn't have known that from the performance. I think Salford, right from minute one, dominated Crawley, and if it wasn't for Corey Adai, it could have been a lot worse than 1-0. I think the Crawley keeper put one of his best performances in a Crawley shirt and kept out lots and lots of shots. I think the stats made for crazy reading. I think it was about 14 shots to Crawley's 1 at half time or something like that. And, crazy. I think Salford were dominant for the first half, and I think Crawley were very fortunate to come in 0-0, and you thought maybe that could be a turning point, and they'd be able to make Salford regret those missed chances, but it didn't turn out like that, and then Salford carried on where they left off in that first half, and eventually found a winner towards the end of the game. So definitely a deserved win for Salford, and a bit of a disappointing performance for Crawley. And it seemed that every time they got possession of the ball, they seemed to lose it, which is most unlike the team this season. Jake Williams, who's been one of the signings of the season, probably had one of his poorer games. He was booked very early on, and that might have affected him throughout. But a lot of the players seem to go missing, really. And I suppose you can credit them for the way they defended. And I mentioned Corey Adai for the saves he made. So there's some of the positives. They did manage to keep the score down. But yeah, it's, I suppose, a difficult afternoon, but hopefully they can bounce back quickly.
Yeah, let's hope so. Scott Lindsay's not really one to sort of mince his words. He wasn't very happy, was he, after the performance? He said it's the worst performance he's seen from Crawley. And not just disappointed with the players, but also with the fans as well, who sort of voiced their anger throughout the game and even booed when the final whistle was blown. What did you make of his comments there, Sam?
Yeah, it's not too... we've seen comments like this from Lindsay before, even recently after the Wimbledon defeat at home. He was really critical of his side's performance. I think it's because he expects better, and we've come to expect better from this Crawley team, especially on the ball. And as I mentioned, Salford had lots of shots. I'm just seeing a stat now. They had 35 shots in the game, including 12 on target. So you can kind of understand, really, that if they're conceding that many shots on goal, you can understand why the manager was really unhappy. And as you say, he said it was the worst performance he's seen since he joined the club last year. And I suppose it was just unexpected for him as much as the fans, because they were in a good place. And no one really saw that coming, really. And in terms of the fans, it sounded like he was unhappy that the players were getting some stick, especially after the form they've been in. And I suppose he just asked for a bit of context, I guess. He probably just wants the fans to appreciate how far they've come when you consider the position they were in last year, only stayed in the League Two by the skin of their teeth. So the fact that they have come so far in that time, maybe it just needs a little bit of perspective. And I think that's what he was most upset about, that it only took one bad performance for the players to really get some stick from the fans. And I think he basically just said, if you're going to criticise us, just criticise him personally and not the players. And I think that was his message, really. But yeah, hopefully Crawley can show a good response to that.
Yeah. Let's hope they can turn that around. So they face a rematch against their rivals AFC Wimbledon on Saturday in League Two. The Reds will be looking for revenge after losing the reverse fixture 2-1 just before Christmas. Do you think Crawley will get what they want, Sam?
I'd like to think so. I think they'll definitely be after revenge, as you say, after the 2-1 defeat at home just before Christmas. But it won't be easy. Definitely won't be easy. We saw at the Broadfield Stadium what a good side the Dons are. There's some very dangerous players. But Crawley's away form has been good. And I can't imagine Lindsay allowing his side to have another Salford-like performance, really. So I think there's a very good chance they can get the 3 points and put things right from the Salford game. But as I say, the away form's been good. So hopefully they can keep that. They can keep that going, and it'll be a huge statement against their rivals.
Yeah, and the fixtures, they keep coming, don't they? Thick and fast. And next Tuesday they travel to Peterborough for the EFL Trophy clash, and hopefully it's second time lucky after the game was postponed last week. It was all a bit of a faff. How do you see this one going, Sam?
Yeah, another tough game for Crawley. It's one of the worst possible ties they could have got, obviously, in the competition. One of the furthest places to go, one of the toughest teams left in the competition. And as you say, second time lucky, because they were due to play there last week, and the players and the fans had arrived when they found out the game had been postponed because of the conditions. And it was very controversial, as you say, because quite frankly, the game should have been postponed at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, the latest, and not an hour before kickoff. And the fact that they have to travel up to Peterborough once again, hopefully they'll be able to play some football this time. And so hopefully, Crawley can win. It's as I say, really tough game against the League One side that I don't think Crawley will be under too much pressure for. Really, I think it's just a case of doing their best. And I think if they do get through, it's another huge step towards Wembley for the first time in the club's history.
Mm-hmm. Good. And off the pitch, 21-year-old midfielder Kamarai Sawyer has been recalled by West Ham. How's he played for Crawley, and is that a blow for them to lose him at this stage of the season?
Yeah, it's a difficult one, really, because he hasn't played many minutes for Crawley. So I'm not too surprised that he has been recalled by West Ham. He signed for the Reds on a season-long loan deal in July. He's made 11 appearances for Scott Lindsay's side, scoring 1 goal and getting 2 assists. But all 3 of those goal involvements did come in the EFL Trophy. Right. So he only appeared in League Two off the bench. He never started a League Two game. He only played 43 minutes actually in the Football League. So it was not a surprise, as I say, that he's been recalled. He's not played too much for Crawley, and I'm sure that he'll probably go out on another loan deal. I imagine somewhere where he might get some more minutes to show what he can do. But I think in the few games we did see him play in the EFL Trophy, he looked decent. So as I say, he got a few goal involvements, and he didn't look like he was struggling as much. I think obviously those games you don't have a huge amount of pressure on, I guess, and he's playing with lots of other kind of fringe players that are really trying to make an impression. But I think Scott Lindsay decided very early on in what starting 11 he wanted for the league, and it was very difficult to get into that team really, and to try and nudge those players out. So he definitely suffered as a result of that, I think. And I wish him the best of luck for the future.
Yeah, sounds good. Hopefully he'll get some minutes elsewhere as his career goes. And then just moving on to the score predictions as well. Obviously, Brighton will be back in action against Wolves. How do you see that one going, Henry? Lots of goals, or?
I think there will be a lot of goals, to be fair, and I think that I can see Brighton winning it, but not as comfortably as they normally do. And I feel like this might be a high scoring 3-2 to Brighton Hove Albion. So that's what I'd predict. Yeah.
Pedro on the score sheet, do you think? Sorry,
say that again.
João Pedro on the score sheet, do you think?
I hope so. He's been in an insane run of form, and it's quite annoying as a Brighton fan because your players do really well, and then out of nowhere you see that someone's looking to buy him. It seems like we can never have someone that's quality and actually not have those rumours. But I guess that shows the quality of the players that we do have here at Brighton, and that we're always producing these almost £100 million reported players to be transferred to somewhere else. So let's hope that João Pedro can get a goal.
Good stuff. Sam, how do you see that one going?
Yeah, I think it'll be a close one. I think Brighton will edge it 2-1. I think João Pedro will get on the score sheet again. I think it'll be a close game that Brighton will just about get through.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be tight as well. I think 2-1 as well. So moving on, Wimbledon versus Crawley, Henry. What's your prediction for that one?
I feel like with Wimbledon versus Crawley, it's a game where Crawley really do need to bounce back, and it's at this time of the season they really need to kind of get results under their belt. I'm hoping for a 1-0 win to Crawley, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah. And Sam, how do you see that one?
I'm going to go for a draw. I think it'll be a 1-1 draw. I think that'll be a decent result away from home, and will obviously be a decent response, I guess, to the defeat against Salford. So yeah, I'll go for a 1-1 draw.
1-1 draw. Yeah. And just finally, a quick one. Peterborough. Henry, how do you see that one? Crawley travelled to Peterborough on Tuesday. What do you think?
I think I'm being quite positive here, but I feel like with that sort of reaction from the manager saying about, his fans and also his players, I feel like you can only go up from there, hopefully. Otherwise, you do crash and burn. So I'm hoping for either a draw, a 1-1 draw, or for Crawley to just edge past, because I feel like that might be the difference in kind of boosting morale.
Yeah. Be interesting to see how many fans head up for that one as well. What do you think, Sam? How do you think Crawley can get a result in Peterborough?
I think they definitely can. I think if they perform to their best qualities, they definitely can do it. I think last time we predicted this game, I said a 2-1 defeat. So I suppose I'll stick with that. I'll stick with it. It might just fall short. It was obviously another long trip. So they might just fall short in this one. But as I say, there's no huge pressure. It would just be an added bonus, really, if they were able to keep going in this competition and potentially get to Wembley, which would be brilliant for the club and a historic moment. So yeah, I do hope they can get through. I'm just like hugely optimistic.
Well, fingers crossed they can put it round. And thanks guys, thanks for joining us and for your predictions. You can catch up with all the latest sports news covering everything we've talked about at sussexworld.co.uk, and you can watch more excellent videos on shotstv.com and Freeview channel 276. But thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Thanks guys.